Hello, everyone. This is Michael Winters, and welcome back to this course on psychological self-care in the time of coronavirus. We're very, very fortunate today to have with us Dr. Alejandro Chaoul, and he is a practitioner of Tibetan meditation, yoga. He's been teaching for years. For a long time, he was at MD Anderson working on clinical trials of how to use these very old techniques with modern challenges. And now is at the Jung Center Mind, Body, Spirit Institute as the founder and director there. And I'm just so happy to have you here, Ali, and welcome.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you. It's great to be with you.
Good. Well, our focus today is going to be on it's pretty broad, so we'll have to limit it. But yoga, meditation, and mindfulness, and we're of course applying that to how do people use those approaches? How can they use that with coronavirus? So maybe just to start, just a very an introduction to what is it when we say the words yoga, when we say the words meditation, when we say the words mindfulness, what is it we really mean by those concepts?
Yeah, so I think one of the rubrics that can be an overarching one for those is what we call mind-body practices. And so usually mind-body practices are practices that not only kind of harmonize the mind and body, but realize their interconnectedness. And many times it's how the mind can affect the body, but also vice versa, how the body affects our mind. And many times we realize that whether we have something going on in our body that is not going well, it affects both our brain many times, but also the mind processing or the lack of it. And vice versa, the same way. We have some issues at the level of the mind that have repercussions at the level of the body. But we always think, or many times we think in the direction of more the pathology, right? But this means also there's the possibility of helping with the mind, the body, and with the body, the mind. And so these ancient practices, whether we call them meditation, whether we call them yoga in a broad category, aspect of meditation that has been becoming quite famous in the West, particularly as we call it mindfulness. These are all techniques that come from ancient times and have been used both for developing better health, but also developing more spiritually. And that's why, for me, it was important as I founded the Mind, Body, Spirit Institute to have that part of spirit in that. But also the other part that many times we miss is that even though we call them mind-body practices, really in most of these ancient traditions, they think of them as mind-energy-body. Now, energy not in the sense of kind of esoteric woo stuff, but actually energy as the field of interaction of mind and body and how that interaction expresses itself. And usually the main two categories that we see is breath and mind. So practices that we call yoga in general are really practices that are more mind, breath, body practices. Other practices that, for example, include things such prayer or mantras or any other sounds, they're really more mind, sound, body practices. But that category of energy, whether it is breath or whether it is sound, is really important in realizing that interconnection.
So, so when you say yoga, you're saying there could be a very simple, you don't have to get a mat and get on the floor and stretch and contort yourself. It could be as simple as a posture that you hold while you're breathing.
Right. So yoga is a huge category, right? And yoga really means union, and particularly the union of mind and body, and also, in a way, the union of us as microcosm with the universe as macrocosm. And so there's all these unions and reharmonizing ourselves. And as you say, when we think of yoga as a practice, a lot of times we do think of specifically hatha yoga, and hatha yoga more in the modern, in the last 100 and so years, where really there's a lot of emphasis on the asana or the posture, and that there's really emphasis on a variety of postures. Whereas traditionally, really, when you know, look back in that tradition, in, for example, Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, it's really about sitting in either the lotus posture or in a sitting posture, and being able to calm the ripples of your mind by breathing and finding a comfortable breath and posture. So again, breath, body, and mind in a very simple posture without thinking of all these different um, asanas.
Okay. All right. So it sounds like this can be extremely complicated, but it can also be really fairly simple to get started. You don't need special equipment. You just need your mind and breath. Um,
Correct. And in fact, for example, in the Tibetan yoga, which is the kind of yoga that I practice and teach, we really start more with the mind. So, meaning that it is about calming what we call the monkey mind. So, that mind that goes from thought to thought, emotion to emotion, and that particularly in times of stress, it's even harder to control, right? I mean, that part of our reptilian brain, the amygdala, gets into that fight or flight response. And when we are in it, it's so hard to calm it down, right? Because we're in survival mode, which is really what happens also in situations like the one we are living.
right.
And particularly when it prolongs and gets from being that acute stress, that after we go into that fight or flight response, we're able to rebalance and kind of get into the next task. But instead, having this continuity of feeling threatened, and with the added of the uncertainty of this kind of anticipatory anxiety, what's going to happen, it really exacerbates that stress to a chronic stress level that doesn't allow us to do that. And our mind really behaves like a monkey. So even this aspect of calming our mind, connecting to our breath, feeling the body as a sense of grounding, that can be very useful. And that we have in all three categories that you mentioned. We have it in yoga, we have it in meditation, we have it in mindfulness. Being able to be mindful of the breath as we are in the body and as we calm the mind, doing different techniques of meditation, including mindfulness, to really be able to not only calm the mind, but from that calming the mind in terms sorry, instead of just falling asleep, because a lot of times when we are in this really um, agitated mind, the moment that we almost turn it off, that we calm down, we don't know many times being able to be relaxed but also aware. And so what you learn in meditation is that yes, you want to relax but still maintain awareness. It's not just about turning off and falling asleep, or just lying down, but it's really about being able to be aware, because then you can re-engage with situations in a different way. Sometimes I call it coming down from kind of the brain address of the mind, or sometimes the business address of the mind,
Mhm.
to your heart address of the mind, or home address of the mind. So again, whether it's mindfulness, meditation, or even yoga, and just that sitting posture, being able to come down and maintain awareness, as simple as that, is the beginning. So you start with calming the mind, realizing the support of the breath and the body. And then, if you can stay with that, then there's not much needed. But sometimes, because again, we either get re-distracted or we get engaged in an emotion, is that we have all these different techniques that are available as tools.
So could you introduce something? What I'm interested in for our students is something that, again, with minimal preparation, they can use, and that they might use, like we might do a few minutes right now, but also something that's there's not 47 steps, so they could remember and use later. But I'm curious about having that experience right now, and for the students to be able to have that experience and also be able to utilize that at other times.
Sure. So I'm happy to guide a short meditation and then give you a few tips of how to do it, not just in terms of sitting in what I sometimes would say you in a prepared way, but even in the informal daily life where you get into a particular situation and you're able to disengage from the stressor and re-engage to yourself. So maybe let's do a short meditation.
That would be
And then
great.
from there, we can talk a little more about these disengaging and engaging.
Perfect.
Great. So for the audience, if wherever you're sitting is fine. So you don't have to have any special sitting. You want to be comfortable, but not so comfortable that you're going to fall asleep. Um, and if possible, in a place that is not so busy that you don't have that many distractions. And as you hear the sound of the bell, take it as an invitation, and as an invitation to bring your mind inwards and connect to your breath. And as you breathe in and out, let your mind guide your breath mostly through your nose, both in the inhalation and exhalation. And as you focus on your breath, notice how you're sitting, particularly notice your sits bones on the chair or whatever surface you're sitting. And notice your feet or legs on the floor or rug or carpet, but just as a sense of grounding as you keep on breathing. And as you're breathing in and out through your nose, if your mind gets distracted, just gently bring it back to your nose without judging the distraction, without criticizing yourself for being distracted. Just come back, paying attention to your breath in your nose, and see if you can bring that breath not just into your lungs, but lower towards your abdomen. So sometimes it helps if you bring one hand or both hands kind of right in front of your belly button, and that as you breathe in, you inflate your abdomen like a balloon, receiving that air. And when you breathe out, you just let go back through your nose. Breathe in, expand. Breathe out, let go. Just a couple more times. What might be happening at this moment is that you might be eliciting that relaxation response. So disengaging from the stressor and re-engaging to what supports you, the breath, the support of your body, the mind guiding the breath through your body. harmonizing that mind, breath, body connection. Maybe we feel some tensions in the body, so that as we breathe into our abdomen and back to the nose, just notice that area of your abdomen and lower back and straighten your back a little bit, almost like elongating your spine. And if it's comfortable, even stretch your arms up and allow tensions in your back and shoulders to relax as you still breathe into your abdomen and back through your nose. Letting those tensions relax, almost like peel off. Allow them to let go. Don't hold on to them. And when you feel ready, allow the arms to slowly come down and rest on your lap or thighs or knees, palms up and elbows out, to support that open chest and open heart. So you let go from the attention in your brain mind and drop into your heart mind. Relax your eyes. If they're closed, not too tight. If they're open, looking to the tip of your nose and downward. And just breathe through your nose into your abdomen and just back through your nose. Relaxing your jaw and allowing your tongue to rest in your upper palate. As you relax your shoulders, but the back is still straight, you support that sense of open-heartedness. Maybe bring one hand or both hands into your heart and just notice how you feel. And even if there is a sense of discomfort in these difficult times, maybe even sadness, anger, whatever it is, it's okay. And as you bring your hands there, it's saying, I'm here with myself. I'm giving a self hug. I'm doing self care. And breathe. So whatever is there is okay. And also noticing that as you breathe in this way, there's more space in your mind, heart. Just breathe into that space that maybe it helps you tap into aspects of loving kindness, of compassion, of joy, even in these difficult times. And as you breathe and you tap into what's available, let's say loving kindness or compassion or joy or patience or peace of mind, whatever is there, breathe it into your whole body so it nourishes every cell of your body. Nourishing yourself emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Feel this as a mind, breath, body refresher. And with that sense of loving kindness and compassion or joy to yourself, maybe you notice some gratitude. Gratitude for yourself, gratitude for others that are in the front line, being in hospitals and so forth, for others that are in even more difficult situations than us. Maybe someone has passed away. Maybe they couldn't say hello or goodbye to them. Just sending them that loving kindness, that compassion to them as well. Noticing that we're all interconnected in this. And so we can do a sense of giving and receiving and nourishing and feeling nourished. And then maintaining that sense of connectedness without needing to open your eyes if they're closed. Slowly allow your body to stretch and relax and massage any part of the body that needs it as you open and close your eyes and integrate with the external world without losing touch of our inner home. And so as we do that, it's almost like a sense of recalibrating, right?
Hmm.
And maybe, you can see by yourselves now how you feel, how you felt before and how you feel now. We probably were somewhere between 11 and 14 minutes. And it was, and we feel different maybe. Um, Now, I tend to do these kind of practices, not only for myself, but for others. Here at the Mind Body Spirit Institute, I'm doing in this time even many of these 15 minutes meditations. I have to do one in a little bit. And mostly to people in the medical field that don't have too much time, but they need a time to reconnect. So disconnect or disengage from what is stressing them, but reconnect to themselves. This aspect of reconnecting that, um, Michael, that this aspect of meaning. And so I do want to mention a couple of tips because sometimes people think that, well, I don't even have 15 minutes, right? Or how do I do that? I don't have a bell, or whatever it is. It's always easy to find what I don't have. Um, and you can use this, and we have other resources. But really is taking a moment for yourself. So sometimes I use this formula that I find very simple and very easy, and it's the stop formula. So STOP. So basically, S is stop, and so whatever I'm doing my last text, I'm engaging with someone, I'm mentally engaging with someone, whatever I'm doing, stop. And then right after stop, T is take a deep breath. O is be open and observe. So I notice how I feel after I take that deep breath. I'm really focusing in myself now. I might be feeling my heart palpitating too strong or too fast. I may be feeling that I'm just breathing upper, so a little bit of sense of nervousness. Maybe I say, well, I'm going to breathe a little lower and re-elicit that relaxation response. And after O would come P to proceed. And if we're ready, we do. But if we're not, we go back to T and take another deep breath. O, observe. And now P, proceed. So it could be anything from 45 seconds to a few minutes. You can decide. But what it does is this disengaging from the stressor and re-engaging to yourself. And also noticing that the stressor is not your stress. So, we could say we're stressed because of COVID-19. And in a certain way, we're right. But actually, COVID-19 is the stressor. And in a way, we have a choice. And I know this sounds really bad, but it is a choice to react in a stressful way or not. Now, I'm saying choice because I know that many of these times we don't feel we have a choice.
Yeah,
We
it's
just
really a
react.
habit, right? I mean, we've developed a habit of responding in that way, And so it's easier to respond in that way because we've done it so much. And what you're saying is that is not a physical law, that is a habit. And we can learn, just as we learned to respond to that stress, we can learn a way to not have that response.
Exactly. And so that's exactly as you say, it's a habitual pattern. Is the path that we've done so much that our brain goes directly there, right? That's what we do when we get stressed, and we even think it's normal, right? Because it has been normalized by ourselves in that reaction. And we see others reacting in similar ways. Now, it's interesting, in the Tibetan tradition that I practice, we talk about the natural state of mind. And the natural state of mind is very different than the habitual state of mind. And that it's important to realize that they are different. Because when you realize, you say, oh, okay, it is different. But so many times we put them together and we think it's the same thing, that's why I would say I'm stressed because of the COVID-19, or I'm stressed because you're asking me these difficult questions, right?
Right.
Or, and so partly is, well, can I disengage from that, re-engage to myself? And as we find ourselves resting more in that state of mind, that is what it's called, that natural state of mind, that is described as a state of mind that is both relaxed and at the same time aware. And so that is, in a way, the aim of practice. And the reason why meditation is called practice, or sometimes they use this term of familiarizing with, um, or cultivating. It's because it's cultivating, familiarizing, practicing, connecting to that natural state of mind. Because all our habitual tendencies take us out from there, that when we're able to stop and take a deep breath and reconnect, oh, okay. And we can always come back. As we come back and we are refamiliarizing ourselves, then we're able to stay longer. And then what happens is we're familiarizing both with that state of mind as well as with the tool. And so, as we know that these tools help us for these situations, we create a little toolbox. And so we say, when I notice that I'm really stressed, I may use the stop formula, or I might stand up, and I feel that I just need to stretch a little bit. And I notice that by doing some particular movement or a breath, I can suddenly feel a little better. And that's enough to re-engage. Or maybe I need to, have some cold water, or take a dip in in the shower, whatever it is, of just reconnect, or stop and have a cup of tea or coffee, or so these are all things that we can do. And in a way, what we're doing is we're breaking the cycle of our habitual tendencies that have so they have become so strong in us that we don't even realize that there are habitual patterns. And that's why we say, oh, it's normal for me to get angry in this situation. Well, do we have to?
It's normal because I'm so used to it that it seems like that must be the way it is. But the actual technologies that you're talking about are pretty simple. It's just being able to remember uh, that you have that capacity, that you can stop, that you can get up and stretch, that you can take a shower. That seems like the challenge, and that, I guess, is why they call this a practice,
Right.
right? That it's great to be able to do it once, but when you make it a practice, then you can start to kind of fight that habit So how would you, for someone who's new, what kind of guidance would you provide for starting a practice of mindfulness or meditation or stopping or whatever? How can our students take what we have today and use it in other situations?
Finding ourselves. And I think it's a very good word because actually that's the basis for mindfulness. Um, the word in Sanskrit, smriti, or in Tibetan, Drampa, means this remembering. And in a way, it's remembering to come back home, right? Um, and so realizing that we are distracted, realizing that we got off of where we want to be, right? And so, in a way, just that reminder is important. So sometimes what I have is reminders that could be simple. So some people I know have sound reminders, right? So maybe they have a sound reminder in their phone. Now there's so many beautiful sounds. And that might be a moment of saying, I'm just coming back, right? My wife sometimes uses a reminder she likes the prayer of St. Francis. And so at that time, she would say the prayer of St. Francis. So, or I know many of my Muslim friends, they have reminders for the 5 times a day that they would pray. So these are reminders. I have symbols. So sometimes I use a photo or sometimes I have a particular letter, or I have sometimes even a dot. Like, I could have a dot, like some of any ones that you have in the back, and you could choose a color and you say, I'm going to put a green dot in my mirror and in, whatever places that you're in the computer. So every time you open the computer, you take a moment of, it's a reminder, am I connected? Probably not. So let me take a deep breath. And then I turn on the computer. I can have it in the car. So that means that before I turn the key, I close the door. And I go, and then we have other reminders. We're driving and we get the red light. Instead of going straight to our phone or whatever, it's a great reminder of stop, right? That's what red light means. So you stop and you take a deep breath. When you're ready, green light, you continue. You may want to do that with your eyes open, but what you want to do is find these different reminders. I have this letter A that you've seen, and I have it in my computer screen. I used to have it in my phone. I have it in my mug. I have it in my house, so as soon as I wake up, I see it. And it's just a way of reminding me, come back. And so partly is this, so if you think of mindfulness as a constant reminder of reconnecting. So, a lot of people think of meditation as disconnecting, but it's really disconnecting from the stressor. But it's not just that and relaxing, it's reconnecting to yourself, reconnecting with a different kind of awareness. And that kind of awareness is, in the Tibetan tradition, they would say that really being able to know that is like the great treasure. It's like you won the lottery. Now, even if you smash your car, if you're good in health, it's like, that's okay. I have my treasure. I can always reconnect to myself.
That is really, that's powerful. Again, simple. It could be very simple ways to engage the reminder. It could be just allowing yourself to recognize that the stress isn't automatic. The stress is a response, but you can choose a different response and eventually maybe even learn a whole different way to respond.
Correct. And in fact, over 40 years ago, Dr. Herbert Benson in Harvard, as he was doing research on meditation, he realized this difference or counteracting for the stress response, and he called it the relaxation response. And, just kind of very simply, in the stress response, your sympathetic system gets aroused. In the relaxation response, you get it to rebalance with the parasympathetic. And so, in a way, what we did in that meditation is a way to rebalance that sympathetic and parasympathetic systems. So it is that relaxation response. So it is, again, you train in noticing that, oof, I'm going in my habitual pattern. Let me stop and recalibrate. Let me rebalance. The other part that I find really important, and again, difficult times, I find they're great moments of teaching opportunities, right? And so, besides this aspect of being mindful, being relaxed, and being aware, is this aspect of it's not just about me, it's about the community, it's about the world. So, the moment that I realized, and what better than now that we're all interconnected, that we're all in the same, because even, when we think a few years ago when we had Harvey, it was devastating, but it was just us in a way, right? I don't want to I don't want to diminish the power of Harvey. But here it's everywhere. And it's not just everywhere in Texas. It's everyone, not only in the US, it's in the whole world. There's no one that has not suffered in one way or another. So the interconnectedness, it's like we're all in this suffering, in this difficult times. And so when we notice that, in the Tibetan tradition, we have this intention that when we do the practice, we're always doing it not just for oneself, but really thinking of the benefit of all beings. And so it's a beautiful way of expanding yourself to others, but also in noticing the support of others, of the community, of being supported by that. There's tons of literature, as you know, in terms of the support of the social aspect, the support of having people supporting you in difficult times. And because of that, faster improvements and so forth. So this time, again, we talk about social distancing. I have to admit, I don't like the word. I prefer physical distancing, but maintaining socially close, like we are, right? We're connected. So socially, we are not distant. Socially, we are connected, but physically we are distant. And so we can maintain that and maintain the support of the community. Recently, I think I mentioned this to you during Passover. We did a seder that my family in Argentina and in Spain and here, and we were all connected. We were all socially connected, even though we were at a distance. I think we're learning things now that we didn't realize before. My family has been, we are from Argentina. I have family in Spain. For whatever reason, before this, we never thought of doing the Seder in this way. Now we are. I'm doing meditations online. I've done some before, but now it's the norm. And then the beauty of it is the people that come are not just in Houston. They could be in Argentina, in Spain, in France, in Mexico. And suddenly that sense of connectedness is so palpable. My teacher, Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche, says it's like the cyber sangha, the cyber community. And it's beautiful to see that. Today, actually, it's his birthday, and he was out he's in San Francisco area. So he was outside and connected to Facebook Live, and 500 people connected and meditated with him this morning, you know. So there's a sense of that strength of the community, social engagement, even if we're physically apart. So I would like not to forget the lessons that we learned during COVID, so for post-COVID. And these mindfully, this remembering, using meditation, yoga, have a toolbox of things that are useful to you. And then practice them, because if not, they get rusty. And then when you need them, they're not there. So you need to apply them a little bit, a little every day, just a few minutes. And then you're able to use them. Even, now that we have to wash our hands so many times, I mean, we always did, but now you can really, as you do those 20 seconds, or you use the gel or whatever you're using, the hand sanitizer, I've heard many times of singing happy birthday twice. If someone's birthday, I think it's fine. But otherwise, as you wash your hands, wash your mind, clear it, right? And then you're present. So there's so many ways. My teacher would always say, at night before you go to sleep, when you brush your teeth, again, brush your mind. Now that we're spending more time at home, every time you wash your dishes, wash your mind. Every time you clean the floor, wash your mind. And then it's all our opportunities to meditation. So you don't need to think that meditation is just this sitting and having whatever, 10, 15 minutes, an hour to do it. Everything can become a mindful moment. And that's the beauty of it. And when you do it, and then with that, have that intention that may it help me heal myself and also others. And you can choose to say, well, as we say many times, all sentient beings, the whole, universe, or you can start small. Well, at least, those people that I know that have been suffering more, maybe that they died or that they're sick because of this, and their family members and so forth. And you can slowly expand that.
Well, Dr. Chaoul, Ali, I really appreciate this. I think this is very powerful, and we'll have a course guide. So students will have ways to find other courses, books that Dr. Chaoul has written. We'll have the stop. Yes, Tibetan Yoga for Health and Well-Being. We'll have that information about that. We'll have the stop, so you have that written if you want to see it in that format. Again, let me just thank you, Ali, for being here and for teaching. This is very powerful.
Thank you. Always great to be with you, Michael. Thank you. And I hope your students benefit from this. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.